Right, okay, so this talk is, as you can see on the screen, it's going to be my view on my experiences of OpenStack. So this is certainly from my point of view in terms of where I work and my kind of journey with OpenStack. And maybe there's a little bit of a rant in here, but I don't know, some people call it constructive criticism. So I'll start and I'll introduce myself. So I'm Kevin Jackson. I'm the infrastructure architect for Trader Media Group. Although everybody else in the world, apart from people who work at Trader Media Group, know us as AutoTrader. I'm the author of the OpenStack Cloud Computing Cookbook, which thankfully, finally, came out yesterday. It's a shame Folsom came up today, and I wrote the book for Essex, but you know, it's, that's just the world we live in. It's about 90% okay for Folsom, so you keep buying that book. I've been using OpenStack as a user. I put that in inverted commas because it's more like investigation at this stage since the Bear release. But I didn't really use it in anger until around Cactus, when I started doing some proof of concepts for Trader, when we started discussing what we were going to do in terms of our private cloud, or some kind of cloud strategy. We already run stuff in Amazon, so it made sense that we don't bring that Amazon type environment, which is really, really slick, and run it in our traditional VMware estate. So at that point, we were looking at a lot of different products. We narrowed it down to the classic Cloud Stack and OpenStack. We flipped between the two, and at some point, OpenStack won. So, yeah, I'm going to have a little bit of a rant on various installation methods, my experiences around them. Some really good experiences, some excellent experiences. Others I haven't really looked at, but I know they're out there. Really useful for some people. I'm going to just touch on them, because I know there's some Red Hat people maybe in the room, so I'll give a bit of love out to you guys. And then I'm going to finally touch on my actual experience with OpenStack and third parties, and where things get up to in development cycles. We'll crack on with the just going through some of the more early experience I had with OpenStack. So everybody starts somewhere. So in my case, rather than it being from source or any of those raw packages and tarballs you can download, although to be fair, I did actually try that. It was better. I had a better experience when obviously installing from packages, and on that platform we're talking Ubuntu. So that was great. It allowed me to get stuff off the ground, and certainly for my particular job, my job is a lot of it is around R&D. A lot of it is explaining to operational staff, development staff, and all the way in the other direction to the C-level execs on where we should fit certain technologies. So packages are good in this world. Packages allow me to explain to the people who will ultimately look after this software that it's not all bad, and it's actually just quite normal to install this complex bit of software. So you go through all of the stages of installation using packages. So, some are good, some are great. One day it will work, another day you think, I'm pretty sure I ran that same command and now it doesn't work. So a lot of my experiences with OpenStack is actually quite complex. We're talking a number of complexities around OpenStack. So this is where I start a little bit of a rant, so I do apologize. I'll try and cut it down a bit to about 10 minutes. No, that's true, it's about 3. It is a complex suite of packages and scripts and binaries. And in a 6-month release cycle, you're trying to, I don't know, you're trying to solve users in one system, and suddenly Keystone comes along. And then not only Keystone comes along, Keystone then changes, during, that release cycle. It kind of gets a little bit frustrating. And I must admit, there is actually a documented case on the actually on the OpenStack blog of my woes in this area when trying to install stuff. So I've been around the Diablo Essex kind of time where getting this stuff installed just didn't work. So packages were available, but with those packages working, they didn't. So this is on Ubuntu. So this was, to be fair, this was leaning a lot on the Ubuntu guys. You guys are doing a fantastic job. Trying to keep up with all the the development within OpenStack. But personally, I could see the angst and struggle between you two. But at the same time, I had to explain to the C-levels that this genuinely is the right product to go with. And when I couldn't get it installed, that's when I started to basically cry every night. I know. You can all give me a hug when you next see me. But the nice thing about going through all the pain, like any software, is it's a great way to learn, seeing all the errors. So it's not all bad. You get to see all the horrible side of it, but it also gives you confidence, knowing that you can actually see the problems, but also you can actually see the problems getting fixed. And you actually know that when you actually come across these problems again, you can get around them. You know how to deal with them. So, in that respect, going through the package route and going through the apt-get install, all that kind of stuff, or the uninstall, all that kind of stuff is really great in terms of getting really up to speed with OpenStack. And of course, it's not just for learning. That people do this for a living. You can. With packages, you've got the chefs and the puppets of the world, that can come into play as well. But another thing is obviously it's an easy way to stay current. Providing that the package maintainers actually keep up, it's a fantastic way to get OpenStack installed and actually stay with the latest releases too. So moving on to Jumpstart. So I'm not advertising. I don't work for Canonical. The guys down there will tell anybody that I don't work for Canonical. I'm actually wearing a Ubuntu t-shirt today, but I don't like that for you. But there it is. Jumpstart was fantastic. So as soon as we saw this, we jumped on the bandwagon. Pun not intended, although you get used to those puns if you talk to me a lot. But as I said, Jumpstart is a fast, low-risk route to deploy all this stuff on your premises, and it's great. So my experiences overall is a fantastic way to get OpenStack installed. So this is where we've gone from playing in your sandpit, you're playing in your test environments, in your labs, to actually say, look, do you know what, we could actually make this work. To actually moving this into the direction of production. So in terms of what we did for trade and media and why we did this was the fact that even though we had a number of skills to actually do OpenStack installs, it was really nice to actually have that official seal of approval that this environment that was set up is the best way of setting it up. It's got some really great minds behind it, and we can actually ultimately pick up the phone and get support. So in terms of an enterprise, putting OpenStack in your data center, I thought it was a great way of doing it. Now, was it all plain sailing? Unfortunately not. Now, I know there's going to be a couple of smirks out there, but I'm just going to be frank and honest here. So I kind of expected the likes of Mass and Juju to be ready at this point, but again, this is a fast-moving market. We've got OpenStack moving very quickly. We've got everything else moving quickly, and I think at this point, to be fair, we were all waiting on Precise to be available as well. So there's a whole load of stuff trying to collide at the same time, and I think my expectations were just a little bit higher. So there was no Mass and Juju, and I was kind of disappointed, but that was just because there's a whole lot of magic in Mass and Juju that I was expecting. I was hoping this great. I was hoping this 5-day engage would be 1 day install, 4 days celebrating, but it didn't really turn out like that. And plus, I saw Mark Shuttleworth's demonstration of the last OpenStack. So they had a load of light shining everywhere as they're deploying stuff, and I didn't get that, so I was quite disappointed. Another little bit of irritation though is we fell back to Orchestra. But unfortunately for us, it actually caused us a bit of pain, and it's I can't see anybody nodding on the screen because I've only got my presentation in front of me. But I'm looking at Daryl here really, and it was painful for a couple of days. don't let that put you off if you're thinking of this. And again, I'm not being paid by Canonical, I'm just being honest. But don't let that put you off. But it was a shame that it took 2 days to actually just get the OS installed on our hardware. But the nice thing about it is once we got past some of the bugs and issues and all that kind of stuff, it was painless to actually do the OpenStack stuff. So I read a lot of FUD around OpenStack and it being hard to install. So I've just gone from that previous slide saying, yeah, it was quite daunting to actually do the packages. As we got to Essex, it became a lot easier. Now, when we actually got to do the OpenStack install through the Jumpstart, it was only 1 day, maybe 2 days tops to actually get everything complete as we expected. So we spent a few days firefighting, and then the final bit was just a rally of going through stuff. And at the end of it, we had OpenStack installed. That was great. So that was thumbs up. But there's a twist to this tale. I'm going to leave it there until we get to the final bit of my presentation. So Mass and Juju. Yes, I've looked at this. This is promising. I like Mass and Juju. I like the idea of taking away some of the complexities of bare metal install. It's one of the things that's quite daunting. I see Cobbler and I see Orchestra. Very, very good. Don't get me wrong. Very complex. Maybe I'm just getting old. I've moved on from you know, setting up little parameters here, there, and everywhere to do some magic. You know, I like the fact that you can turn something on, things get discovered, and things just work. So that's the Mass and Juju kind of, or that's the Mass kind of side of things. Juju, you know, as the name kind of suggests, you know, it's magical charms and all that kind of stuff. It promises to be a great service. Problem I had though was I always found it quite slow. So I always found it was quite difficult to set up a lab environment. You need a lot of kit. When I was actually looking at Mass and Juju, you need a lot of kit to actually do the OpenStack install. It needed a node per service rather than probably in most OpenStack installs you'd have maybe Glance or Keystone maybe run on on the same server. In the Mass Juju world, when I was looking at it at that point in time, we couldn't do that. So a lot of waste was in there, unfortunately. So we kind of glad that we pushed that one aside anyway, and we had a more tailored install in the end for our OpenStack environment. So obviously, I've spoken to some of you guys since Canonical talking about Mass and Juju. There's some great things coming along. I hear the lovely name service Juju-Jitsu, to do some more magic around Juju charms and all that kind of stuff. I'm interested in seeing where this is going. I just want to keep an eye on. So yeah, I mean, I like this. It was just a shame that it was just not ready at the point that we were ready for it. So moving on to some of the later stuff that I've been able to try. So this is Rackspace's take on how to easily install stuff in your environment. Now, this is essentially a kind of modified Ubuntu-based ISO. So you download it and you get the ability to install OpenStack components just from an ISO. So it takes away a lot of the fluff from an install, takes away all the apt-get and all the commands running to set up the users and your tenants. Does all that behind the scenes from very little input. Personally, in a lab environment, this is the easiest way to actually start playing about with OpenStack on your own kit. It does assume a few things. It's not the most customizable, given the fact that it's designed to be very easy. Obviously, it takes away a lot of control from the user. So it does set up. It does require hardware virtualization for one. So this kind of stuff where you trying stuff out. Personally, for me, I set up things in a lab environment on virtual machines, just because of the ease of trying. Really, I'd love to just be able to download stuff onto my Mac and actually just spin stuff up and just try it. With this, you actually need some hardware. Although there's a bit of workaround to do this with KVM and stuff. But you know what? This is sold as being easy, so you don't really want to go out your way to actually to do a load of complexities when it's being touted as easy. The nice thing about this is it gives you the choice to actually get OpenStack up and running. I really liked it. It doesn't do everything. It doesn't give you your OpenStack storage, the Swift component. But if you're looking to compute, yeah, I'd certainly give this one a try if you've not already. As I say, it's nice. Stick a USB stick into a server, boot it up, answer a few questions like the network, and before you know it, you've got OpenStack installed. So the other stuff that I've not really had a look at, or I've kind of played and kind of just dismissed. So DevStack's always touted as you should be able to always run DevStack to actually spin up all the latest and greatest that's been developed. Personally, I was a bit underwhelmed. So it's designed for one thing, and it's not designed for my use case. I'm a user. It's very great if you're doing development and you're doing work specifically within an area to do with obviously development. Personally, for me as a user, not the right call. Certainly, it's not the right call for me in a business where I need to demonstrate how to actually install stuff. It does explain a lot on what it's doing. It's very nice. If you look at the script, it tells you exactly how to do stuff. So in terms of training, maybe at a low level to a systems engineer team, but overall, it's not how you're going to be deploying 100 nodes. So I'm kind of dismissed it on those kind of grounds. The other stuff I've certainly not looked at, just because of, I'm going to talk about Piston because it is a bit strange, until Airframe came out. So I jumped on Piston quite early on when we were looking at OpenStack. So obviously this is the Cactus Diablo kind of time. So they had their CentOS. Kind of stuff sounded really promising. You mentioned a USB stick. It sounded like, okay, I can stick this in servers, I can do some installs. No, you don't. You stick the USB stick in a switch, and that switch has to be very specific. And it kind of put me off a little bit. It's very awkward talking to the network engineers that it is, but let alone telling them they're going to be sticking a USB stick from this third party into their switch. Kind of just didn't really fit. So Piston's really good for a very dedicated environment for OpenStack. Now, again, from my point of view and what we do at Trader, we don't necessarily have servers dedicated for environments. We have a kind of philosophy of any server anywhere. So we actually mix all our servers across the estate. In a world we actually had chassis and racks specific for compute, Piston's probably right up the street. So we didn't have we're not the right use case again for Piston. You know, they asked us what switches we were using. You know, we use this strange thing called Cisco. You know, it's kind of popular, and it didn't work with it. So it just didn't really fit. Now Airframe's a little bit more interesting. So that came out recently. You know, these are all the competition now for you know, easily installing you know, OpenStack on your kit. So Airframe requires 4 nodes. I've not had a chance to try this way. It's actually on my to-do list. This is my to-do list you've got on the screen here. So you need 4 nodes to actually do this, but it's very interesting. It's got some nice features in there, you know, to do with high availability. It comes with storage. Everything's just nice with the Piston side of things, you know, in that kind of world. It is Diablo based, but you know what? I'm gonna park that comment as an aside because of I had a wrap up in the end because I'm just going to leave it there. So the other stuff, Red Hat and Susie, is so I've just not had a chance for this. So Trader Media, we are actually a Red Hat based house. At the time we were looking at OpenStack, the Fedora world and the Red Hat world really didn't have OpenStack there. So we just started the snowball of looking at what's the best platform to run OpenStack at that point, and we just continued with it. So that was Ubuntu. So even though we were a Red Hat house, we did go through the pain of do we want to run Ubuntu. So the guys actually do like the Red Hat based stuff. And I say we're a Red Hat based house. We're actually, you know, we actually run the Tesco Value version. We run the CentOS, but it's you know it's nearly there. But you know we would have gone down the Red Hat Fedora route, you know, had it been available back around Cactus kind of time when we were actually genuinely looking this in anger. As for, you know, the Germans and, you know, their side of things on their take, you know, I think it's really interesting where they go with all that. I like their interface on how to control that environment. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But again, we're not a use case for anything other than either Ubuntu for our OpenStack kind of world, or it would have been a Red Hat based stuff. And it would have either been Red Hat or it would have been CentOS. So, the something like a kind of summary from all this. You know, all of this is all really good, but the problem we're getting ourselves into now when I look at OpenStack is the guys need to start looking at the upgrade path. So obviously with Ubuntu, you've got Cloud Archive, so that's great. That really solves the packaging side of things. That really gives me this ability to have my Essex release, and then I'm going to have my Folsom release, my Grizzly release. Problem is, that's okay in terms of packages. It's the inner workings. It's the what happens to the tables. Do I need to add in columns to my new table? Do I drop tables in my database? That kind of stuff needs to be solved if we're going to talk about easy upgrade paths. So I'm hoping to actually see some of this develop more and more in the future in OpenStack, and I'm certainly going to try and push more for it. And I say I'm going to push. I've heard lots of rumors that this needs to happen anyway, so I'm going to be one of the people in there that will be most interested in seeing this. The other thing which I found it hard to kind of quantify or hard to ensure that we are making the right decision, and that's environmental stress tests. So having tools that can actually load test the environment. So if there are any canonical Red Hat people out there who want to think of, that'd be a really good idea to actually certify that. You know what? If you can soak test an environment, so let's create a tool, then please do. I'll be interested in seeing that. And that's just giving confidence to the people that pay my wages that this thing will stand up in terms of throughput, in terms of spinning machines up, and all that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of stuff I think that is personally, from my point of view, in my experience of OpenStack, and by far I'm not, I'm not using this in thousands of nodes, all that kind of stuff that the crazy guys at CERN are doing. This is just me as a user. Just expect an enterprise cloud operating system to work and function, and we need to water and feed it as well. So, but the one little bit of beef. So this is a little bit of ranting. I'm sorry. The other one, I just want to get away from all this. Do you run Diablo? Do you run Essex? Do you run Folsom? I don't care, right? I feel sorry for people who come into OpenStack who are not used to kind of naming and all this kind of version stuff. So we are on a very fast release cycle. If I was a user, it would be like trying to get on a fast-moving escalator. It's like, do I go to D? Do I go to B? Do I go to F? Now, obviously, it's important to have versions. I just think people get a little bit hung up on, I run Diablo, I run Essex. HP, they run like a mix of weird stuff, Diablo, Essex. You've got Piston running Diablo currently. Who cares? I just want something that works. Right, so a little bit of twist to all this. So here's me. I just want to give a little bit of reality to this context of where we're up to a trader. A little bit of reality check. So our plan is always to run hybrid cloud. Well, we describe hybrid cloud as having an on-premise, where on-premise is one of our data centers, so not really like kind of offices. On-premise using OpenStack, and then external using Amazon Web Services. So we've already run, I don't know, it's probably about 10% of stuff of Amazon just for a particular function of our website. And we do all this controlled using RightScale. So it was a no-brainer really to actually have OpenStack running internally. We're doing the same kind of stuff, in fact doing exactly the same stuff as we do in Amazon. Now we don't have that much Amazon specific stuff out in Amazon. We've kept it quite agnostic. Our goal is always to be quite cloud agnostic. So RightScale fit in that world where we can actually just use it to spin stuff up. And it works. So the problem we had, so we're going back a few months ago. The problem we had was Microsoft and Google happened. They came out with compute power. They came out with, in RightScale's eyes, and I don't know if I'm getting this because I can't see anybody there. I can't see any RightScale t-shirts, can I? I did before. Look, OpenStack was being developed. RightScale saw an opportunity with Azure and compute engine, and we lost out as a user. And they know that I'm badly burned by this, and it's crippled me a little bit. But yeah, we just weren't ready with OpenStack and RightScale. So what happened? So there we go. We're running CloudStack. I cry now and again. I actually cry a lot with CloudStack because do you know what? I know I'm speaking to a room full of people who actually like OpenStack, and I'm trying to be really, really unbiased here. It's great. CloudStack works, but I've got stuff. I've been spinning machines up all week, and it just works, right? We've got Zen Server, and we run CloudStack. Is it what we wanted? Not really. Is it? It's not how we designed our environments. We designed our cloud environment to be kind of pretty much share nothing. So including the likes of using expensive shared storage to do stuff. CloudStack assumes shared storage from the beginning. Running stuff from direct attached storage is kind of like an afterthought. It's down in a list of like a gazillion options to say, yeah, I'm going to use some local storage. We had consultants in for a few days setting this up. After 2 or 3 days, we had to strip back some of the complexity and actually have the most basic CloudStack install set up. We're actually going through the pain now in over a few weeks of setting up this CloudStack environment. Just bear with me a moment. That was a really bad time. I just had a delivery or something. Sorry about that, people. Where was I? I was ranting about CloudStack. So there we go. So yes, it's just not. It doesn't feel like it's the best use case for Trader. What it is the use case for, and the reason why we're using CloudStack is actually because of RightScale. We have a lot of scripts, we have a lot of work put in over the last 2 or 3 years using RightScale that actually just all works out in Amazon. We're now going through the pains of making that work with CloudStack. Was I expecting it to just work with CloudStack? Unfortunately, I was. Do I see a big uphill struggle? It was more of an uphill struggle before last week. We had some great guys in helping us out to do our RightScale piece, but it's just not where we want to be. OpenStack is where we want to be, and that's not it's not me trying to be a purist. It's not me trying to be this kind of. I'm not trying to sway people in OpenStack CloudStack. In my mind, that it's just not the best technology for us. There was a great post by Morantis on one of their guys running CloudStack, and I wholeheartedly agreed with his experiences. The interface is a bit weird, and it's touted as one of the, a nice, one of its nice features of CloudStack is its user interface. It's not. They need a UI guy in there, or a UX guy to actually go through and actually just tweak that a little bit better. It was buggy. It assumes a lot with the GUI, and if you rely that much on the GUI, you need to improve. So that's my constructive feedback. There's CloudStack people in the room. People run thousands of machines on this. But in my view, I'm itching to go back to OpenStack. So in Trader's world, this is a temporary stopgap just to get us into a world where we're actually in that hybrid world. We're actually running Amazon and we're running something on premise. So
Kevin.
So that's it. So I'm finished now. I've finished ranting.
Yeah. So we are actually over time. So did you have any more slides to cover? Any more points to make?
No, that was it. I'm sorry.
No, don't. Do we have any questions for Kevin now? Any from the floor? Any at all?
Well, how long do you think it will be before you move back to OpenStack?
I didn't quite hear that. But
sorry, the question was how long before you move back to OpenStack?
I don't know. I see the CloudStack piece as we need to get the RightScale stuff sorted, and in theory, the RightScale stuff will then move to OpenStack. So it's however long it takes to actually do our RightScale piece. 6 months? 12 months?
So Kevin, you mentioned that I mean, as a user, you found it confusing that there were multiple releases with very short release cycles between them.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I believe you to be an atypical user that's got a lot more involved in sort of the upstream process than many users would be expected to. But I wanted to clarify, do you think that's a messaging argument or a technical problem? And just to add more to that, I mean, I can confirm that with Ubuntu, certainly Essex is supported for 5 years on its LTS, and I imagine that every other distro will pin to a version as well as to be their sort of long-term version. I mean, do you have anything to answer to that?
Well, I would love to see that kind of model. You know, instead of it being supported by the distros, I'd like to see OpenStack move to that kind of LTS kind of release. Because we already see that anyway. We see the within each release, we actually see 2 or 3 milestones. And that's the equivalent of, say, Ubuntu's 12.10 release or the 11.04 release. You know, it's just spread out a bit further. Personally, I would like to see it slow down a bit. I kind of think, I assume it's because OpenStack is playing catch up, and it came a long way very, very quickly, and you can only come there very quickly by having these very fast release cycles. Will we see it slow down in the future? I hope so. And I think that would help. I think that will actually help people go, do you know what, I'm actually okay running this. Because in some enterprises, it actually takes a long time to actually steer these big ships around. You know, we could actually start on the Diablo, knowing that by the time we actually get, I don't know, all the finances through, all the kit and all the development, all kind of stuff, before you know it, you might be released behind. Now that might be okay because what you developed again is absolutely stable. But you always know that, I don't know. Do you get people who are always doing apt-get upgrade on all these servers? Maybe not, I'm not sure. But I do like the idea that, for example, I say not being biased, genuinely I'm not. I like the fact that Essex is supported on the 12.04 release for a long time. So,
Well,
and I've seen a post by Maranta saying that that's not going to be the case. You know, you're just always going to be slipping behind. And the problem with it is if you did stick with Essex for a long time is the gap. So I agree with that.
well, thank you. Thank you very much, Kevin. I think we're going to have to leave it there, or we're going to get into trouble. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Here we go. You're welcome to stay and listen to the rest of it if you wish. So,
Well, you'll just see me eating pizza.
good. Great. Well.